The Vegas Golden Knights have had an uneven offseason, but is it time to panic? Chris Gawlik, the co-host of Locked On Vegas Golden Knights, joins us to discuss the offseason and where this franchise goes from here. All of that and more coming up on this edition of the Locked On NHL Podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL Podcast. Gil Martin, so glad you could join us today, and thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Right now, it's my pleasure to welcome to the show the co-host of Locked On Vegas Golden Knights, Chris Gawlik. And Chris, busy offseason, not all smooth sailing for your team, but you are of the belief it's not time to panic. Why do you say that right now?
So me and Tony on Friday's Locked On VGK episode actually had a very spirited debate on this very subject. Seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, things went very well. You got a Stanley Cup final. You have a coach in season 2 who couldn't find a way to close out a 3-1 series lead against the San Jose Sharks. And then seasons 3 and 4 were within 3 games of the Stanley Cup final. People seem to forget that very quickly. Season 5, we have over 500 man games lost for what everyone thought was the best VGK roster we've ever had. We even had an opportunity to possibly backdoor into the playoffs with all those injuries and exceed the salary cap, Tampa or, Chicago Blackhawk type style. So someone, in my opinion, knows what they're doing. I think there's a plan in place, and I'm not of the mindset that we should be nervous and freaking out just yet. In my opinion, our management has earned the benefit of the doubt only looking at the results of seasons 1 through 4 and bad luck in season 5.
Out of all the losses over the offseason, which one concerns you the most?
Pacioretty is the obvious answer. He was on clip for probably in the low 40s if it wasn't for bad luck with 2 bone injuries. Max Pacioretty was by far our most lethal scorer. He was the only one that was breathing any life into our power play, it seemed like, for the last couple of seasons. Very good around the net, very physical, probably the quickest release on the team, just the best sniper we had, and that hurts. That hurts a lot.
How about the fact that Reilly Smith is coming back? How important was that for this team?
Oh, Reilly Smith is huge. Reilly Smith's stock has gone up tremendously, not just on the ice, but off the ice. In his words, he's poured his heart and soul into this organization. He has hosted, I think it was the 3rd time we had the Battle for Las Vegas. Excuse me for taking a second there. The Battle for Las Vegas. It is an annual softball game with Las Vegas Raiders, current and alum, against Vegas Golden Knights current players and alum. A lot of fun over at the Las Vegas ballpark, which is right next to where the Vegas Golden Knights practice facility, City National Arena, is. Raised over $200,000. Now, this was going to happen. This softball event was going to happen this season. It was announced before Reilly Smith's contract was even announced. There's maybe some gamesmanship there too. It seems like there was a handshake deal in place for Reilly while the regular season was still going, even is what the rumor was when the Dodonov deal happened and then didn't happen, which really complicated a lot of things. But Reilly Smith coming back, his stock has really gone up in the public eye, and he's someone who quietly, I think, is becoming a fan favorite. He's quiet on the ice. He reminds me of like a Jonathan Taves in the sense that he's all business the second that jersey goes on, whether it's practice or in the game and warm-ups, all that sort of thing. But watching him in person at the softball game a couple weeks ago, you really got to see a fun side of him. He loves the city. He loves the people here. We love him, and it's awesome to have him.
What is the Knights cap situation right now, and what are they looking to do between now and the start of the season? I know it's not necessarily going to be easy.
Pinch pennies. The Shea Weber situation. So I think right now on paper we're 1.3 over if you go on cap friendly, somewhere in that neighborhood. But we get enough cap relief to absorb that the way that whole thing. I am by far an expert in this. I'm sure other people are much better than I am in understanding all of this. But to my understanding, we have enough cap relief to be compliant if the season started tomorrow, basically. Throughout the season, even though the deal relieved a lot of our cap situation, it does pose some complications with being able to maybe get players here and there. It's going to be you're going to see a lot of, like, if there's 3 days off, XYZ called up from the AHL, XYZ sent back down to the AHL, and all these things that just save 1,000 here, 1,500, however that all works out. It's going to be cap gymnastics, or in Vegas, we call it cap roulettes.
Little juggling act there with the cap. What you look at the roster right now, what would you say is Vegas's biggest need?
Someone who is going to be a lethal scorer, and this is why we got Jack Eichel. So I'm giving you not necessarily a now answer as much as I am an answer for about the last 15 or 18 months of this team. All the things Vegas has had, we've had great chemistry, we've had great defense, we've had tremendous success for 4 of the 5 seasons, but we have never had that one player who can turn the game on its end and simply, Marc-Andre Fleury, I guess you can argue, of course, but goaltending withstanding, we've never had that one player who, the second he gets on the ice, could make a difference every single shift. And that's what we need Jack Eichel to be. Everyone keeps saying generational talent, and we didn't necessarily see it last year. He was kind of just starting to hit his stride, and then dude broke his thumb, but he continued to play. Like, I'm just trying to think of how hard it would be for my everyday life. So my personal business, I open packs of baseball or hockey cards and in front of a camera, and I send them to people. I'm trying to imagine what that would be like if one of my thumbs didn't work. I mean, now we're talking a hockey player cranking 100-mile-an-hour slap shots with a broken thumb. Like, it's amazing that he was able to fight through that. So, the biggest thing that Vegas has been missing as far as, just that identity. We'll shift gears for a second here now. Identity is probably the biggest thing this team has been missing. You go to on the road to play Team XYZ, you know what you're going to get, right? You know whether they're a physical team, you know whether it's an Avalanche team who's going to roll 4 lines and just come at you in relentless waves. Tampa is in the same, breath as that. Edmonton with all the skill they have. But in Vegas, you could probably take a poll of, 30 people like ourselves who are somewhat in the know, I would think. And I don't know if anyone would be able to necessarily say what the identity of the Vegas Golden Knights was last season.
Last season, a little tougher to pin that down. As far as Eichel goes, I mean, we did see flashes of what he could do when he finally did play. Probably on pace for about 33 goals if you extended it over 82 games. What do you expect from him this season?
80 points, a mix of 30 and 50. Hopefully that's really where we need him to be. As far as McCrimmon and George McPhee are concerned, he has to be a point per game type player, a difference maker, someone who is going to lead, but also lead with all these other leaders around him. You look at the Buffalo rosters that he had, Jack Eichel was the man, right? I mean, I'm sure he had some veterans around him, but I don't think he was really following anyone's footsteps, if you will. Now you got Mark Stone, you got Marchessault, you got, even Chandler Stevenson, the success he's had, Pietrangelo, Alec Martinez, all these character players, Stanley Cup winners. They know what it takes to get there. Jack Eichel doesn't. So Jack needs to learn from them while also finding ways to take over games. One of the best things to watch Jack Eichel when he was just starting to get to form last year, he just creates so much space with the puck, and it's very effortless. I've only seen Mario Lemieux live a couple of times. That's kind of right when I was really starting to get into hockey, late 80s, early 90s and such, and I was only 8, 9 years old during that time. But the biggest memory I have from seeing Mario Lemieux live it was just effortless watching him skate with the puck and go through people. He didn't come across as fast. I didn't necessarily even think he was accelerating while he was moving. He just kept his skates on the ice and just kind of swizzled the entire time. And I see flashes of that with Jack Eichel. Am I comparing Jack Eichel to Mario Lemieux? Let's pump the brakes a little bit. But simply that's the parallel that I see from afar, the opportunities he can create.
Chris, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Yep, Locked On Vegas Golden Knights. We are doing audio and YouTube. Our YouTube channel is finally up and rolling, so we would love to have all your subscribes and everything. At TD Chris G is my personal Twitter. That's like touchdown TD Chris G.
All right, Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
Cheers.
Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, of course, the NHL, combat sports, esports, tennis, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts.